There have been quite a few international news, but one of the most striking one certainly gets a lot of attention is that back to March 19 when Netanyahu held a press conference, which gives us a very interesting window to see what's on his mind. Usually, I haven't heard him talking so much in English. So obviously, his intention is to get the message out. And then in his press conference, he made some interesting, if not a provocative statement. He is saying that obviously he's quoting another historian. His name is Will Durant, American historian. Obviously, that's his token. He really liked that historian. Um, Netanyahu, basically, that's what most people pay attention to because he basically compare Jesus Christ with Genghis Khan, which is happens in part of the Chinese. It used to be the biggest land empire in the human history. I mean, we all know that the British Empire is the biggest, but when we talk about the contiguous land empire, uh, uh, Genghis Khan is the largest one. So he is basically saying that if you don't have if you're not powerful enough, you're not strong enough, you're not ruthless enough, then the evil will overcome the good, and then the aggressiveness will overcome the moderation. A lot of people get the wrong attention. It's basically saying that because Jesus Christ is such a not just the angel of peace or prince of peace and love, but also it's a sacred figure. So a lot of people just saying that Netanyahu is the founder. Netanyahu's comparison is very offensive. But I would think the way I look at it is that it's Netanyahu. It's best to see his statement, you know, as the might makes right manifesto. Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, they had a communism manifestos, right? So Netanyahu, for the first time, I mean, I'm pretty sure he's speaking for everybody. Stephen Miller, for example, I call it a MMR, Might Makes Right manifesto. So this is obviously not taken, we should not take it lightly because this is a reveal his mindset. But instead of focusing on the religious side, I really believe that, Netanyahu, there is a big fatal logical hole that can be used to defeat himself, just like a lot of his statement, not just in the logic, but also in reality. In my mind, I really believe that Israel, not just me, there's one rabbi I heard from Thread, there's an interview that they was holding a demonstration on the street. I don't know which country is it, but the rabbi says that said it pretty well. He says that Israel is basically weakening itself. You know, so I guess in that sense, I would agree that both Israel and the Mecca are self-weakening because they wanted too much. They cornered their enemies. They already strong, but they're not satisfied with that. So in Netanyahu's case, I think he might have, he might send a message that, even if Iran is like a totally collapsed, Israel got all they want. They will not stop. They may want to become a Genghis Khan, become the largest land empire in the Middle East, if not anywhere else. So here is the logic. the logic, in his statement, and not just me, because we can literally listen to what he says. He's basically saying that you need power, you need, strength, you need ruthlessness in order to defeat bad guys, right? However, that logic doesn't hold because you know why? Because everybody knows that at least in the Middle East, with the support of the U.S., Israel is the strongest, most powerful. And in terms of ruthlessness, we don't know. I think there is some evidence to show that they are ruthless, towards the civilians. Okay, and then you talk about Iran. Iran maybe, I'm not defending the regime, but I'm just saying that Iranian regime seems like to be ruthless towards the domestic, but not so much ruthless in the international negotiation because they know, you know, very well that the U.S. is behind Israel. If just Israel, they may not give that much, damn to it, but they know basically the U.S. is unconditionally support Israel. So that's why they are not they may provide the financial and the military whatever support to the other guys like to Hamas, for example. Of course that's a real danger, but in terms of a ruthlessness, I think the Israel. So here is the thing: the key conclusion that in Netanyahu's press conference at the end, he after citing the Jesus Christ and the Genghis Khan, he was basically saying that we have no choice. But that's the problem. Israel actually has a lot of choice. They have different choices. They just not decided not to take those choices. Only choose to escalate in the conflict. I don't know to what extent is that Netanyahu's personal mission because he want to get there. But the one thing that is clear that Israel has choice. So that's why you cannot say you are the wicked. You're the weaker, and so in order to prevent other people the evil to overtaking you, you have to fight back. However, the key logical hole is that Israel is not the weaker. It's most powerful, strongest, even in terms of ruthlessness. So that's why makes it, makes the logically doesn't add up together. Well, some people may say, pro-Israeli critic may say, well, even if some enemy is weak, they may still give you damage. True, I agree. However, not when the sign shows that the Iranian government, Iranian regime was ready to give up, to hold their nuclear power. In the last nuclear negotiation, right before the U.S. and Israel launched the strike on this. So that means that my basic conclusion is that Israel, yes, Israel is not the weaker part. It's not the less powerful. It's not the less ruthless. So the only thing that I can explain is that Israel wanted something more. They want to be the Genghis Khan. They want to be all the land from Niles to Euphrates. So let's stop here.